Hello everybody, second video of the day, and this one is focused on just some champions that I think would be good and advisable against some of the node interactions that you're gonna see in this month's Uncollected. Not hugely difficult, but there are some frustrations, largely I think with Terrrax over Moleman, but let's delve into this. First boss is King Groot. I don't think there's really much to worry about this champion. If you are a little bit worried about armored assault, while the defender has an armor up buff active, they gain 65% attack rating and their attacks become unblockable. I really would say with this to have any champion that has stagger. So stagger would be able to stop or suppress anything coming in. And obviously class advantage, going for anything that's mystic related. You know, you've even got options of Mephisto against this, and as well obviously my boy Dr. Doom. He's a very good champion. Next up, and you've got Ebony Maw. Now I would say with this, because the champion cycles between energy resistance or physical resistance, that it could be some really fun interactions when it comes to the usage of Morningstar, and especially if it's built up quite a bit. Smashing with an SP2 would put some nice, really destructive damage. Disappointing fact is regeneration, that is passive, so maybe not so much. But I do like the fact of Void for this fight, especially considering keeping your distance, class advantage, and other types of things as well. You know, there's going to be some great options. Petrify could be a thing that's helpful, and yeah, but the problem is going to be with immune to ability reduction passives and debuffs. So when we're talking about, you know, the utilization of Archangel, maybe not so much. But yeah, I think this is one of these fights to roughhouse, and you'll probably find yourself just using some obscure champions just to kind of go against this. And you could use Blade with the villain synergy, but obviously that could be in conjunction with stuff that would do any kind of defender is immune to ability accuracy reductions. So I don't know if that's going to be a viable option, but still, roughhouse is for any champion, stick to the SP1 and you should be fine. If all else fails, just use Quake, Omega Red, and any other god tier champion. Next up, you've got Ultron, and I would say with this one, if you've got the likes of Medusa, this again will be something quite fine. But then if you've got class advantage, and as well champions like Corvus Glaive, building up plenty of persistent charges, smacking in, you know, you name it, it's going to be good for the situation. Stick to the SP1 as you normally would, and you should be absolutely fine. I think Vigorous Assault's the only thing really to watch out for. While the defender has a regen buff active, they gain 65% attack rating and their attacks become unblockable. And I would say when the champion gets some kind of regeneration, then do you have a champion that would suppress that, reverse that? You know, reversing is going to be champions that maybe have Petrify, you've got Guillotine, you know, you've got so many that heal block. That could be a good thing, but the fact because it will still be up, it will still be blocked, means they will still benefit from Vigorous Assault. So I would say that any champion that's got stagger, like the Dr. Dooms, even like Mephisto, could be good options here as well, because as soon as that's up, that may cause you some pain. But yeah, SP1, keep it to, and you'll be absolutely fine. And yeah, anything that interacts with robots, like your Medusas, will probably be the better option. It's an easy champion to go up against. Now I'd say with Quake, if you are concerned with Spry, don't be. Any champion that casts anything with a heavy attack, you're talking like your Archangels, your Dominoes with the Incinerate synergy, you know, that could be viable options. But do watch out with Ghast. That's kind of, well, that's annoying. While under the effect of fatigue, 10% of the attacker's power is drained every second. Additional, they suffer 25% of the defender's attack as damage each time they land a hit. So yes, that's going to be quite bad. But the fact is, I would largely say you won't worry too much. You'll overpower this. If you've got a debuff effect on the enemy, you largely will overpower or over damage this enemy before it looks like it's going to be too bad. And you know, you've got aspect of evolution. Whenever the defender fills a bar of power, they raise their attack armor critical rating. Again, I don't think you're going to worry too much about that. It is going to be a case of just throwing in champions that are class advantage, putting a lot of damage in, Squirrel Girl, you know, skill-based champions, Gwen pools. You know, you will find yourself just absolutely rinsing this and just putting in as much. I mean, I think I used it with Blade, and it was just a one-shot. I think you will find this quite straightforward. Next up, a Moleman. Now, I would probably welcome you to use the Cat Marvel movie for this fight and the next fight, especially with either champion has not made contact in 8 seconds. Both champions gain a shock debuff, dealing 50% of their base attack over 3 seconds. Now, that is advisable if you've got a champion like Cat Marvel movie, champions that interact well with shock debuffs. Off the SP1, Giganto Jr. flies forward and throws a kind of like a burst of electric damage over the bottom half of the map. So I'd probably say any champion that interacts well with it. Your bishops, obviously building up the prowess and smacking in with huge amounts of damage, could be a viable option. There's so many there. I didn't think I used the correct champion I wanted to. If you're struggling with Unstoppable, I'm not sure if Beardo could be a good option, especially going into the kinetic charge of his shielding to then hit back out and nullifying. I don't know if that would be viable to work. I did try it and it didn't work for whatever reason, but I'll kind of like have to review the footage of it on some previous videos, or some later videos actually. And I'd probably say with the SP1 is the thing to keep the enemy to, as you know, you can just keep your distance. He kind of bursts forward, then he does the electric thing, then he bursts forward again. So just try and keep your distance as much as possible, and watch out for that beam attack across the bottom of the screen. That's going to be the killer. Now, according to the abilities, he can shrug off debuff effects, but I don't think it applies for passive effects or passive debuff effects. They're not really called passive debuff effects. I think they're called passive effects. So let's just call them red effects, like degen. Effectively, they can't shrug off degen. Is it a case of death spores, you know, those kind of things. That's why I think a Mega Red might be a good option for this, but anything else I think he can shrug off pretty well. Definitely bleeds, I think he can shrug off from what I've read in the abilities in Spotlight. So yeah, watch out for that, but maybe some other options there. Right, let's see what Cat Marvel movie can do. Let's see about building up. Usually when it comes to like quick fights, and there's only being about like a few fights to actually build up, I just like to go into an SP3 and just kind of then just smash it through. But it looks like we should. Now I will. Now because there's, I think, is there shock off the SP1? I want to say there is. But I am going to avoid it this time because I just don't fancy it. Yeah, watch it at the bottom. What am I going to do? There we go. So there we go, we're going to the SP2, bang, 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 then we're in with that one. 1, 2, and I'm going to just throw my SP1, and then we're back again with the SP1 from the enemy. We're avoiding that, we're going back in again. If we get a parry, then I'll... Boom. Okay, next up we've got Terrrax, or finally we've got Terrrax. This one was a little bit of a difficult one, especially when you're going up against a champion for the first time. That when you go into, you go into a fight, you kind of think, oh, is this going to play out this way or that way? So I took in Stark Spidey to begin with, and that didn't work out quite so well. But a couple of champions to point out that were actually really good, which I kind of slept on the idea and had some kind of weird interactions. But first of all, and that is Dormammu. Essentially what you're having is buffs expiring. And if you're having buffs expiring with a highly signature Dormammu, then essentially you're putting a degen damage on the enemy. It is annoying to see Limber on this champion, so it's going to be playing the intercepting game. I found that Cat Marvel movie was actually the best option for this, especially because you're building up binary charges like there's no tomorrow based on the energy attacks that the enemy does. So that's going to be speaking its favour, and as well Bishop could be a viable option on this one, especially based on energy interaction, building up quickly, smashing in big damage, you know what I mean. And especially if you've got persistent charges on with that particular champion Bishop, you're able to get in the same way that obviously you've got Cat Marvel movie, and I think I will be using that as the best option for this. I'm probably doing another video on this a bit later on, but it just seems to be, from my early assessment, that those champions that interact well will be ones like Cat Marvel movie, Bishop, and maybe ones that suppress power gain. But I don't think people want to go with class disadvantage like the likes of Warlock and other champions. But yeah, very, very fun. And as well, maybe you could do something with Symbiote Supreme with this, with class advantage, and as well with the fact that you're suppressing any kind of power gain buff. I can't remember if it was a passive or non. If it is, you'll probably see it on screen at the moment. If it's a case it is a passive or non-passive. But if it's a true buff, then, you know, interaction will be better with other champions against this. And also, before I forget, maybe not sit on Morningstar, especially because of the replication of buffs, not to mention the fact that the champion will go into heavy attack, probably get power up to the SP2, and if the enemy has got a power gain buff on, it's probably going to mean for some good amount of damage. And also, don't write off Magic. Magic is still a good option for power control as well. So Dormammu for power control, there's power interaction champions with energy damage. So yeah, there's a whole plethora of champions to choose from that will be able to take down this Brute. Stick to the SP1 as well is a bit of advice. And obviously keep your distance when you need to keep your distance. Rush in when you need to rush in, because you need to watch out for being close and being far away. Especially with power from afar. Each time the attacker leaves the striking distance, the defender gains a power gain buff. When entering striking distance, the buff is removed. So play about with being away, being close, being away, and being close. There we go. That has been the video. I'm now going to get back to grinding that, pick up some more ideas with different characters to use against them, and as well get back into my Act 6.2 grind, which I really want to get sorted out as soon as possible. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. Hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.